welcome back to the Obra Dinn. So far we have discovered what happened in the worst time of this tragic journey. Well, hopefully not hopefully, but the worst time. Loads of people died by a Kraken attack. But so far we haven't found how that came to be. The only other earlier event we found was these two deaths that we see in front of us. Most likely by pneumonia. This is the 17th century, so pneumonia is not a known illness. Anyway, so what we're going to try and find out now is what could possibly have caused all this, right? So I don't see anything here. You can see that this is the armory. What about here? This is the carpentry. Let's go back upstairs. Maybe we miss it. That door over there is open. And it's got that weird rendering thing. And we'll find that our next poor victim, well, it's not our victim, but the next victim, is hanging outside the ship. So let's see how that came to be.
On your toes.
Go back!
Here.
Captain!
Slack the lifts and lower the boats. The whole crew will be on us.
Give it up!
Oh. Damn. Okay. So we know who's dying here because, as you may remember, this tattoo is quite characteristic. And we found it on the previous chapter at Bitter Cold. It was shot by this man over here. I don't know who he is. Who is holding a woman. On the other side. Oh. The helmsman is here. And there's him. The Dane. And a part of the staff. I think it was a steward. Okay. So, what it seems happened there was they tried to escape the ship. But they caught on to them. So we did see who this is. If I remember correctly. Damn. We actually have to go back to that memory to see what the number was. Okay, so he was shot. Oh man, like I'm trying to remember because I did see it in that memory. And I remember he's a seaman. Is it? We'll be certain. We'll check memory. We have more. A hanged corpse. Let's see what that is about. Okay, that's getting tiring. So let's see what happened here. The corpse was hanged from one of the masts, I guess? Let's see what happened here.
Hok Seng Lao, you have been found guilty by self-confession of the murder of Nunzio Pasquale.
Quiet.
As captain of this ship, and by the authority of the East India Company, and thus the Crown of England, I sentence you to death by firing line. Mr. Wolf, when you are ready.
Right, sir. Ready, men. Aim. Fire!
Oh. So he was sentenced to death for the murder of Nunzio Pasqua. And you may recognize that scene because... Where is he? Our friend Edward Spratt was drawing. Now, we heard his name is Hok Seng Lao, but we see that 4 people are firing at him. Now, this is one of the tricky bits of the game. You will see that this, and this guy have missed him, and it's actually him, Henry Brennan, who's killed this man. We actually have to look at the angles, because only he fired and he didn't miss. And this helps. Like, look at this. He called him Mr. Wolf, and you may recognize his voice from the Doom. Okay, so this is where is he? Hok Seng Lao. He was shot by, where is he? Henry Brennan. Okay. Now I know we need to check out this right here, and we will. But before that, there's a lot to digest in this scene. First, we can tell the identities of a lot of people here. So, first, the woman. She was called Miss Lim. So we can assume that her name is Bun Lan Lim. These 2, we still don't know which ones they are, although we probably could by cross-elimination. Him, we still don't know who he is. Him, we already saw him, and his name is in fact Wolf, Christian Wolf. He is the gunner. Now we're at 21 fates solved. There's more to this scene. This, for example, as you can see, he's sitting next to the gunner. And we saw him in the chapter of Doom. Just a second. We saw him in the chapter of Doom, handling the guns. So we can make a... Well, we could, but we should wait a little further, because the game thinks that there's more hints for this. And here's the man who shot the sailor earlier. And he has someone behind him, and he's whispering something. So as you can see, they're all in uniform, so he must be one of the mates. So this is the captain, this is the first mate, this is the third mate, we know because he's called Martin, and him, well, this must be either the second or the fourth mate. There's also him, so these are the four mates. And we can determine that this is a steward, and this must be this man's steward, while this man must be this mate's steward. The Dane, the boatswain, the bosun, sorry. Well, we've already seen this man, but it seems that we can't really figure out who he is yet. And this. So we'll get back to that. We'll have to look back at the memory to see who this is. Yeah. Right. So there is more to digest in this scene, definitely. But let's go and see what happens here. So, this Formosan man was sentenced to death for the murder of Nuncio Pasqua. So, let's see how he did it.
Hello? Who is there? Who is that? Is someone hurt? Signore Nichols, is that you? What are you doing down here?
Oh, hello. Yes. All fine here. Just sorting some things.
Watch your step. Here, let me help you.
So, this is Nuncio Pasqua, and this is the mate that we saw earlier. Alright. He was stabbed. You can't actually see it very clearly, but he is holding a knife. I mean, there's no colors you can choose. So, Hong Seng Lao didn't actually kill Nuncio Pasqua. He's right here, passed out. Look at that. A very vibrant shell. And does this glow remind you of something? Okay, well, there isn't anybody else around here. So, if you couldn't figure out that this is Nuncio Pasqua, the other hint would probably be that he called his to-be murderer Signor Nichols. Signor, I mean, he's the only well, I wouldn't say lad. He's the only Italian on the ship. So, let me just there we go. He was knifed by the second mate, Edward Nichols. So he is the second mate. Which means that he also that he is the man who also shot this poor guy, which we'll have to remember. But we did see that tattoo on the chapter of Bitter Cold. Okay, so These are the 3 memories in the chapter Murder. But as I said, we're gonna have to revisit some things to just wrap things up. We have to revisit some of the memories. Chief among which, right here, actually. Oh wait, no, wrong side. Or is it? Let's see. No, it isn't the wrong side. We just have to go a bit below. Right here, yeah. Okay, let's go back to this memory over here. So, yes, poor guy couldn't breathe. Here he is. And he is the number 37. So, he is number 37, a Scot. Timothy Butemont. Butemont? I don't know. So, there's that. But we did learn more in that chapter. We did learn more, and to find out what we learned, we have to go and revisit one of those memories.
Hok Seng Lao, you have been found guilty by self-confession.
We have to look at this guy first. So, how do we know who this is? Well, he is whispering something to the second mate, and he is a mate, you can tell by the uniform. So, let's see. This is Samuel Galligan. And since we know this is the second mate, it means that this man we found earlier...
East India Company, and thus the Crown of England.
Okay, that's... I mean, I suppose by process of elimination you can find that this is actually the 4th mate. Okay, so I'm not sure why the game didn't find that to be proper. So yeah. So another 3 fates down.
Mr. Wolf, when you are ready.
Right, sir. Ready, men. Aim. Fire!
So the guys here, as you can see, are probably top men. And we'll actually have to come back to that memory to identify them, because there's a very specific way to identify them if you don't want to do it by trial and error. So, we've already seen this poor guy. This is the captain. And these, well... still don't know who these are. Well, not all of them anyway. Him, well... we can say who he is because he's right by the 4th mate. We already know who this is. Well, I think that's it for now. That's pretty much it. But there's more to tell in this scene. There's definitely more to tell. In fact, that's what's going to happen later on. We're going to have to revisit some of these to figure out certain things. Alright, so that was okay. So another thing we can do now is, well, we found that there was this man sitting by the by a cage with livestock. So maybe we can remember him from somewhere, specifically here. So we use this memory to identify the midshipman, but we completely glossed over this.
One swing. Get through the skull in stone or brain. I'll cut her throat when you've done it.
So she's the one who cuts her throat. So you can imagine that if she cuts the throat, he's probably the butcher, and he does have an Irish accent. So that's also cemented. Alright.
You alright there, son?
So we've already identified who this is.
Never been on a farm, John?
Mind your shoes now.
And yeah, this is pretty much it. Now the other person next to the butcher in the execution scene was holding a big fork. So this is another hint as to who he is, but we'll get more in time. So alright, so far the second mate just tried to basically, he found treasure in the cargo or that the Formosans brought with them, and he decided he was gonna steal it. To further cement that, if we go back to the first scene we found, where the Scottish topman got shot to death, we will find that they are using two boats. They have some supplies,
The whole crew will be on us! Give it up!
and as you can see, they have loaded the chest with the bright shell from earlier, and you will find like some of the people that here's the second mate steward. This man. Here's another one that we can deduce actually. How we can deduce it? So here we can see that he holds a pipe. Alright? He has a pipe. And alright, so this is a stretch. And this is the last deduction that we're gonna make for this episode. But we actually have to go back to a bitter cold. So we found who he is. Well, we found like his face. If we go to that chapter, we go to the first death in the bitter cold, we will find that he's here, and right here by his bunk we can find the pipe. So here we have the number 47. So we can go to number 47 and we see that his name is Alexei Toporov. But we don't know what happened to him, we'll find out though. So here's another deduction we can make. Well, the other deductions that we have to make are with the Chinese. I know, like, this sounds ridiculous, but the only way you can do this without trial and error is to look at their shoes, because they have very distinct shoes, and here you can see them in their bunks, but you can't see their faces. You can't see their shoes though. So this is actually how you do it. We're gonna leave that for last. We're gonna, because it's kind of annoying. But anyway, this is all for this episode on board the Obra Dinn. Next up, I hope we're gonna find some more clues as to what may have gone on. Because so far, we can see how things may have gone wrong, but, I mean, come on. A greedy, murderous mate doesn't really explain the freaking kraken coming on top of this ship. So that's something that we're gonna have to see for next time. So stay tuned.